something really good, a hot topic in the news this week. He's been charged with crime. This is a show where I try to educate real stories. Thank you for watching Truth and Justice with Vivian King. As you know, my goal in this show is to educate our community about the criminal justice system and things that affect the criminal justice system. And tonight, I don't have anyone in the studio to tell their crime story or their story with the system, but I do have something that I need to talk about where you need to understand what's going on in your community, specifically the southeast part of Houston called Sunnyside, South Lawn, different areas that have been affected by a gang injunction. And a gang injunction, very simply put, is a law that allows, a law that our legislators in Austin wrote that allow very minimal procedures like trespassing warnings and trespassing convictions to say that gangs are loitering and they can be kept out of a location or a place and basically violate their civil rights for the good of that institution or establishment or business. And I'm sure that law was created for a good reason, but some of the people in the community are not feeling good about how it's being used right now. In Houston, it's been used at the Haverstock Apartments, where a specific apartment complex that's run by the government wanted to keep certain trespassers off, and that's one way. But now it's been extended, it was extended to a 2.2 square foot or mile radius that included schools, probation departments, homes, businesses, churches. And one of the lawyers that I mentored many years ago, that's a great lawyer, Monique Sparks, called me and said, Viv, did you know that there's a new gang injunction? One of my clients is getting caught up in that. And I'm like, gang injunction? Is it filed in criminal court? I've never heard of that. And she was like, no, it's being filed in civil court, and he can't go to his son's school. He can't go to these places. He can't go home. He lives in that zip code. He lives in that 2.2 mile radius. Man, this is not right. He can't afford a civil lawyer. And I said, you know, well, sometimes in life, we all have to do some pro bono. And I know as criminal lawyers, we do a lot of pro bono because our clients come to us and say they can pay us, and then they don't pay us. And so we are like the lowest paid in the legal profession. But maybe you and some other lawyers can take this up. And she thought that was a great cause. And she's been fighting this good fight, spending her own money. And the other lawyers have been spending their money. And I've been spending my time advising and meeting with other community leaders, and all the community leaders actually in the southeast area have been involved. So to talk about the community's reaction to this civil lawsuit gang injunction, which was supposed to go to trial on April 25th, but got interestingly postponed until June of 2016, I brought two community leaders into the studio tonight to talk about it. And one of them is Charles X. White. Everybody knows Charles White. When I was running for judge twice, you got to go to his breakfasts. You have to go to his events because he is the man. He's the mayor of Southeast. And so because of that and his experience with the community and his love of his community, we got him involved in this as a voice for the people. And Charles, so talk to me.
Okay. We were pulled into this, and I say we, Charity Productions, and my involvement in the criminal justice system happened in 1986, where I was a volunteer for the Texas Youth Commission and Harris County Juvenile Probation. But this particular gang injunction, I was pulled in February. We had a press conference February the 18th. And from there, we have been promoting the unconstitutionality as the gang injunction has applied. And for the audience, if you do not know, this gang injunction has been applied 4 different times, all on young black men only. And they're using several techniques. And interestingly, this is the criminal justice show. The HPD general order gives the police officers, it says specifically, when in doubt, if they're checking somebody out for whatever, when in doubt, it's a gang.
Wow.
I mean, that's just point blank. Now, I used to work in the school system as a gang interventionist. And back then, in the 80s and 90s, you had to have 4 qualifiers. One was you had to be involved in criminal enterprise, had to have an identifiable leader, had to meet on a regular basis, and occupy and control a specific territory. In today's world, none of those 4 criteria, and if you missed any one of the 4, you were not considered a gang member or member of a gang. But today's category, they have 8 different benchmarks. None of those 4 that I just announced are included in the 8. And the thresholds are so low, your uncle going to the grocery store could be identified and tagged and photographed as a gang member and not even know it. So that's what got me involved, that the details of what the lawyers or the attorneys explained, how low the thresholds were and how anybody could get caught up in it. And then there are 2-mile radius that they were trying to include originally. Now, we got a comment recently that originally it was 126 guys, then they dropped down to 92.
The lawsuit was filed with 92.
92. And now they have dropped down to 46. And we want to believe, with all the involvement of the community people, that that was enough public pressure along with the legal team for them to reduce it from 92 to 46. So what happened most recently, as you mentioned about the court case, the district attorney and county attorney put out a full display of paramilitary, military police force at the downtown Harris County Civil Courtroom, and I brought a little clip.
Let me just add this. It's the 61st District Court of Harris County, Judge Smoots.
Yes.
And that's your elected official, and she is on the ballot in November, by the way.
Well, and here's something else.
And I'm not pointing it out to be negative. I'm just saying that we need to have the information because we don't know when our judges run, how they get elected, and they're on the ballot either during the presidential cycle or they're in the ballot during the governor's cycle. So the judge in this court is doing the presidential cycle.
Well, it's good that you mention that. It's good that you mention that because this particular judge has handled all of the cases that deal with the gang injunction. And we understand that she has volunteered for those cases. However, the system at the county is a lottery system.
Right.
And the lottery system was put in place so that it wouldn't be any collusion between the county and the judge, but it appears now that that doesn't work in this particular case. So what happened when the court case was on April 25th? Wasn't on
April 25th, yes.
Right.
It was supposed to be last Monday.
Right. And so they went to court twice for motion hearings, and the police, some in paramilitary gear,
wow,
some in plain clothes,
wow,
and some in regular gear.
Wow.
And so one of the people that went to attend the hearing took some video, and she has a short clip that we pulled down off of Facebook. If he could cue that up, Mark, if you could cue that up, and we can just watch what actually some of the
County, when you're an activist fighting for other people who are getting banished in Harris County. You get cops that record you, even though we've been nothing but a peaceful movement. You get para-police, you get sheriffs down the way, and then a cop that likes to videotape me. This is what we get. This is what peaceful protesters get in Harris County. Intimidation tactics. This is pathetic. This is what our tax dollars pay for, folks. Instead of out there fighting real crime, murderers, rapists, child molesters, you get cops that come out here, follow activists, take photos, take video, so they can go and submit detail and have their little secret meetings and then talk about us and how dangerous we supposedly are. So this is as pathetic as it gets.
That'll give you just an idea. Now, to give you the fullness of it, from what I didn't attend, but there were approximately 25 people in the audience, and one of the attorneys, Drew Willey, said that there were 35 to 40 law enforcement people riding up and down the elevator with the people that were going to the court. They were escorting them out, or following them out of the building. They were posted up in the courtroom and in the hallway. And there was a lot of intimidation going on on both days. And the judge in the case asked for extra police protection. So to me, this is inciting, as the lady said in the video, they are inciting, anticipating or edging on something to happen that doesn't happen, and we didn't go there, and the people that went, I should say, that went there, they didn't go with that in mind. They went to go and observe and be a part of the process as democracy.
Right, right, and that's what's so sad. Even when I started this show, Truth and Justice, I would get comments from the courthouse, man, do you have protection? You know, those cops are going to be after you. I'm not doing anything. I'm just like the news reporters. I'm just reporting what's going on in the community. And it's all of our community, and those police officers or judges or DAs, I pay their salaries. I've been working and out of college for 36 years, and I paid a lot of taxes and a lot of dues. I get the right to say what I want to pay for and what our people are doing. Someone needs to report what our people's doing. My show is not a profit center like ABC and Fox and all the other papers. I'm not publicly traded or privately traded. I don't make a profit at all. I pay for this show. So I want to bring to the people what's going on in their courts. So maybe through education, there'll be less crime. Maybe through education, there'll be more voting and education about elected officials. Maybe moms or young men will know, look, if you get in trouble, you're not going to get probation if you rob somebody. Those people down there giving 20 years, 30 years on the first offense, so that we don't hear people saying, oh, it's his first offense, be easy to him. We'll know. But anyway, I digress. So Loretta, let me let you jump in. Loretta is also our second guest tonight. Loretta Brock is of the organization The People Hold the Purse. What a great title. I love that. The People Hold the Purse. Tell me what The People Hold the Purse means to you and what your mission is.
Well, The People Hold the Purse is the embodiment of what you just mentioned. You pay the salaries. We pay for this country to be what it is. It is because of us, the workers, the taxpayers, that the city, the county, the state, the federal governments are able to function. So these are our schools. These are our law enforcement officers. These are our judges. These are our commissioners, our governors, our representatives, our congressmen, our president. These are our officials that are there to serve us. Right. So they are recipients of governmental entitlements, if you would.
Right.
So they need to answer to us, the people. We are the reason for their work, not an interruption of their work.
Amen. Amen. And that's what's so sad about this gang injunction. Loretta, you put that very eloquently. It seems like we're interrupting what the government planned to do in our behalf without us knowing that we're being taken care of and with our tax dollars.
Correct.
And when we want to share our voices and our concerns, if you were doing this for the community, why is it that the 6 young lawyers that went out to talk to the community and the businesses are not getting that response? Why aren't they not, why are the businesses saying, oh, we don't mind if they're coming to the store? So who are you speaking for? And maybe the government is speaking for just one store. But it shouldn't be 2.2 acres.
But,
I mean, you know what I mean? It should be that store. Maybe
Absolutely.
one person did say, I don't want them on that property. But that should be the one that you enforce the gang injunction for, or just the regular trespass laws.
Hence the unconstitutionality.
Exactly.
How are you to include my property and I'm not party to the suit?
Right.
I'm just trying to figure that out.
Legally, that wasn't what we learned in school, but what I've learned since I've been a lawyer is what we learned from our Constitution. There's a concept in law called stare decisis. It's where when you go to law school, the reason why lawyers don't know the law when they get out is because law school is the history of law. So when you learn property law, you start with learn about the first case where in the Queen's English, you read a Queen's case because remember, these are the
Yes.
Queen's kids that came over here. And then you read the first cases, Dred Scott, when we were property, black people. You read all the way to, you know, say like the 80s, okay? And then you stop because you're just reading how law was developed. It's the history of law. In tax, any subject it is, it's the history of how it was formulated. But it's all supposed to have a constitutional breadth and foundation, if you will. And what we learned in school, but then when you get out and practice law, you have to find out what is the particular law that's pertaining to it now. And now you know how to fight a law that you don't think is constitutional because you learned the history of the law. But you don't know what that law is that day. You know what I mean? Because they might have stopped 20 years before you got out of law school. And so then you have to go get it. So we've researched, so we know how to research. We have made arguments and seen how laws develop. So we know how to now be lawmakers and challenge laws based on our fundamental constitutional principles. What's so frustrating to me in the 20-something years I've been a lawyer is that our criminal laws have changed, our civil laws have changed, our civil rights have changed from what we learned in law school or just 25 and 30 years ago. It's like government has gone amok and said, we're all friends. We've decided that this is the way the law is going to be. We don't care what stare decisis says. We don't care how it was developed. We don't care about the fundamental issues anymore. All we care about is winning. And that's what the Constitution is supposed to prevent. That's why there's unconstitutional issues. But it's gotten so expensive to sue to declare a law unconstitutional. Because if this gang injunction is being appropriately used, like our legislative created, it's unconstitutional. So either a law is unconstitutional or it's unconstitutional as applied in this situation. Because these young men are being told they can't walk down the street talking on the phone with a cell phone. How can you take somebody's right away? And how could our government be that arrogant as to think they could take somebody's right away like that?
Our county government.
Right, our county government.
Yeah.
How could our county government believe that they can stop someone from talking on a cell phone in a certain area or radius? How can they say that you can't go to your child's school? How can the county put someone on probation but say if you live in this zip code, you can't go to that probation officer because we put this on a gang injunction?
Well, see, that is why we are dangerous. They know that we are dangerous. That's why they had the military police and all of the various law enforcement agencies out there, because we the people are dangerous. We are dangerous because we are forced to be reckoned with when we are on one accord and when the number of critical mass has been reached. There will be change, and we the people can demand that change. They are able to do this. Why? Because we allow them to do it.
Well, Loretta, tell me as it relates to this gang injunction, what are you and your organizations doing?
Well, to piggyback on what I was saying about the people allowing, the people can disallow. Right. So we can disallow this action by simply following the process. There is a process if you disagree. Right. You don't have to holler, scream, curse.
But didn't you all have that petition drive?
And that's exactly what I'm getting to. Oh. Yes, you're absolutely right. The petitions. So you don't have to holler, scream, curse, burn up cars, burst windows, curse police officers. You can be very respectful, you can organize, and you can petition. We did get the support of the American Civil Liberties Union, along with Charity Productions, Black Lives Matter, the People's New Black Panther Party, and several other organizations, including the People Hold the Purse, of course. We did organize, supported by the ACLU, and we did collect petitions. We collected signatures. Not only did we get signatures, we actually had people that said, ma'am, can you please put me in touch with an attorney because I want to testify against the officers. I know what I saw. I called the officers, ma'am, and it took them close to 2 hours to show up. And when they showed up, they didn't do anything, and they were mad that I called them. So just what we said about the people being the purpose for the work and not the interruption of your work, it appeared as though she interrupted this particular officer's lunch break, and he didn't appreciate it. As a matter of fact, he threatened her with action and did not take a police report from her, even though she was the one in danger. So yes, we did have a petition drive, very successful. Right now we have over 200 petitions and counting as time progresses. And the people are saying, we do not want this gang injunction. We do not want to have criminality addressed at the expense of the Constitution. So we can address criminal concerns constitutionally.
And can I?
Sure.
In speaking with the district attorney and the county attorney's office, I mentioned to them that it's a policing problem.
Right.
Because in 1988, when they had this program called Ride Along with the Police, the first ride along I went to was to these same apartments in 1988. So if you haven't solved the crime or the criminal element since 1988, that clearly is a policing problem and not a gang problem.
Right.
And our subject matter, current subject matter expert or gang interventionist is Reginald Gordon, and they are framing this as a Bloods and Crip item.
Right.
Well, even in '88, when they tried to frame the Bloods and the Crips as the big bad wolf back then, I told them that wasn't the right association. So G-Man, his name is called, nickname, G-Man told the DA as well that the Bloods and the Crips have not been active in a way that they are trying to package this in 4 or 5 years.
Absolutely, and in addition to what you were saying, as far as the actual apartment itself, it appears that there's some, I'm of the opinion that when we deal with law enforcement, including our judges and our prosecutors, one of the largest, most effective tools they have is a tool called discretion. It appears as though there's a club over on Bissonnette, and they filed a public nuisance complaint against the club, and now they are holding the owner of the club responsible for the activities taking place within their property, which is the exact opposite of what is taking place with South Lawn Apartments. So we have this owner that is not being held responsible, that does not have to pay law enforcement officers to patrol his troubled area. But we also have them saying that it's not his responsibility. So he can infringe upon the rights of others for property that he purchased, knowing the criminal history of the property, but not accepting any of the responsibility.
Now, the county also filed that same, applied that same technique on Broadway. On Broadway recently. And I asked the attorney from the county attorney's office, well, why didn't you all use that in the South Lawn incident?
Right.
She went to Mars. She didn't answer the question.
And let me make sure I'm clear and our viewers are clear. You want to know, why is it that you're holding the young men accountable and putting them out of their community, basically? Because they live in that zip code and they have nowhere else to go. Why are you putting them out of their community, but yet say like the South Lawn Apartments, you're not holding the property owners
Correct.
accountable, because on Broadway they're holding the property owner accountable. But we know why, because it's no black men, it's not black men that they're trying to deal with over there. And at this other place, is it black men too? Or is it the community at the club?
I'm not sure of the demographics.
But I'm just saying, so.
But there appears to be a certain amount of discretion that's being used, irregardless as to the ethnicity.
And that's what's always been difficult in the criminal justice system, the discretion. And that's why we've always needed minority judges and lawyers and prosecutors at the table, so that we can share with our brethren different points of view. Because right now, many things are looked at from one point of view. If I bring up another point of view, then I'm a racist, I'm disturbing the status quo. I'm interfering with government, okay? But our government constitution was written for interference. It was created for civil disobedience.
Yes.
And so that the people...
What you mean?
The people could take back their government, and they can have their own representatives. But it's a new day, and it's
government by the people, for the people.
By the people, for the people. And so
we consent to being governed. My very presence here in the United States is me consenting to that social contract. So that means whatever it is that is transpiring, I'm giving my consent by being here. However, I can voice my dissent, but I must do it decently and in order, such as the petitions, such as the protests.
Talk more about the petitions. I'm liking that. Explain to the viewers what your petition is all about.
What the petition is about, it's about people that actually live in that area whose property is included in the lawsuit, but who are not party to the actual suit that was filed. So they're saying...
Let me ask you this, Loretta. So does that mean that the county attorney's office and the district attorney's office didn't canvass the area of the property owners before they are excluding people from that community? They're not saying, hey, this is what we're trying to do in your community. Do you have a voice in this? Do you have an opinion in this? They've never been included?
It appears as though the general populace was not consulted concerning the filing of this suit.
The general populace in that 2-mile area.
The general populace.
And, however, but the people that came and signed your petition live in that general populace.
Yes, that is the general populace.
Okay. Well, I just want to make sure it's clear.
We are hands-on, boots on the ground, you know, shoulder to the wheel. Yes, door to door, knocking. Yes, we are hands-on with the population that's being directly affected. It does not appear that there was an open community meeting.
Nope.
Well, there was not one.
Right.
Because I've been going to the community meetings to be a liaison between the Vince Ryan's office, the DA's office, and the lawyers fighting this lawsuit. You know that. So I've asked that question early on, and absolutely not that they did not go to the community.
Well, not then, prior to filing, and not to date.
Right. Not prior to filing. Because we've wanted to know who are the community people who are asking you to do this. Give us one or two. And
they can't do that because the people that they said that they talked to, the attorneys that's working pro bono, they went out in the community, and some of the businesses that's listed in the suit, when the attorneys went to that business to ask them, they had no knowledge of what they were talking about. So
and we could name one. What? HEB on the corner of OST and Scott. No knowledge.
It's my understanding from the lawyers who are defending this lawsuit or prosecuting this lawsuit, they are telling me that HEB said no specifically on the guys' names that they recognize. We don't mind them coming in. We want their business.
They want to sell them groceries. They must eat.
Right. Well, and stores have security. So if there's someone that they want to not come back on their property and file a no trespass warrant, they have a cop working on the scene that can do that.
And that was
can say, hey, Charles, don't come back on this property.
Right.
And get your name or take a picture of you and put that on their business. And we see that in the community.
Right.
So they can do that for themselves.
And that's a question that I did ask of Belinda Hill, Odom, and O'Rourke. Did you pull the trespass affidavits or trespass warrants for these businesses that you're including in this suit? How many do you have?
And what did they say?
Oh, well, we're working on that.
Well, how would you work on that after you file the lawsuit or an injunction?
Well, silence is consent.
Well, I think that because the black community in Houston has allowed government to violate their rights so often, it's a violation of your right just to say you're on a gang list when you're not in a gang. How can you decide if I'm in a gang? I might be a troublemaker. I might be a menace to the community, but that doesn't mean I'm in a gang.
So I have to hire the civil lawyer to prove that I'm not a gang member.
Right. I might have committed some crimes, but I'm not a gang member. And people have a right to live until a crime is committed. Our government doesn't stop crime. Our government responds to crime. If we want to stop crime, then we need to be using our tax dollars to create programs to give people alternatives to that life. But all our government has done over the last 25 years is create paths to where people cannot work. They have, you know, when I started being a lawyer, very little things were on the computer. You know, people could live a life if they changed after being bad for the first 10 years of their adult life. They could change, get jobs. There was no computer access to your record. And even though there is computer access, that does not have to be public. It can still be, it can be public as long as a case is active, but after it's over, it does not, it can be the old-fashioned way where someone has to come up to the, to the courthouse. But to me, our government has created a way to keep people from getting jobs because everybody uses that against them. I do believe that we have an obligation to keep our communities safe. We have an obligation to also try to rehabilitate people when they commit crimes because they still have to live in our society. And we cannot afford to lock everybody up. That is just too much money. I mean, we can't afford that.
Well, I don't want to say it's too much money because of the nature of our economy. We have people that are making very, very lucrative dividends based on this prison industrial complex that we've developed. So you know, based on the research I've done, it appears as though there may be $2,500 per person on the table to rehabilitate these individuals that have been cited or named.
And who gets $2,500?
That's just a figure that I've come up with based on a $300,000 grant. After you take out the administrative fees divided by approximately 100, then you're looking at $2,500.
Well, wait.
What's the $300,000 grant?
Let me answer that one, and then you go back. The county is providing some busy work, delay work, in my opinion, by throwing out to the community that they want to apply for a $300,000 juvenile justice grant, okay? It's supposed to be turned in this month and awarded in October. So with the $300,000 that she is talking about is this magical possible number that the county may apply for and may get after 2,500 other people across the country are applying for this same $300,000.
Charles, and Loretta, I just had an epiphany. You know, do y'all know that the district attorney's office buys computers and all kind of things from forfeited money and proceeds from people that get arrested and they take their money? Wouldn't it be interesting if that money was turned over for the programs for those people?
Of course.
Instead of used for government? Wouldn't that be a wonderful, I think I'm going to start that campaign. Criminal forfeiture money should be used to put back into rehabilitation programs and community resources. Wouldn't that be a wonderful thing?
Excellent.
Mike Driscoll in 1990, when the first big bust they had with drugs that I knew of was on Dixie. I mean, this guy had all kinds of money and stuff. And Mike Driscoll and I had a discussion where he was going to try to get a portion of the drug forfeiture money to go to nonprofits. Now, I don't know if he completed it.
It doesn't happen. The drug money goes between the district attorney's office, all those computers when you go in the courtroom, they bought that starting with Chuck Rosenthal with forfeiture money. That's where all that money came from. It's not a part of the regular county budget. The district attorney's office, when they said that they would help use some of their budget money to buy body cams, that's drug forfeiture money.
Well, speaking of
that's the drug forfeiture money.
Wow.
They spend the drug forfeiture money. That's why people can't get their money back. Because the county is split. The law enforcement, the DA's office and I don't know about the police, but I know the DA's office gets a piece of it. It might be Commissioner's Court, the DA's office, and the Sheriff's Department, but they're keeping that money.
Is that a state law or a local law?
No, I don't know. It's just, I'm just telling you that's the facts.
Best practices.
That's the facts. Okay, that's the facts, Jack. Okay, I'm just telling you that's the fact. That's a fact, Jack. And so maybe that money, and maybe more people wouldn't have their money confiscated if it went back to programs. But I think that it should be a law. Maybe maybe that needs to be our letter writing campaign
for 2017.
For 2017, to get people on board with drug forfeiture money should go to nonprofits that give job training for people who get out of prison.
That would be excellent.
Get out of Harris County Jail.
But now speaking on the actual county budget,
they can't find budget money.
Well, it was disclosed to us by Gene Locke that he increased the DA's budget by 12% for the purpose of funding diversionary programs. After I perused the budget for 15-16 and compared it to the 16-17 budget, I found that not only was the DA's budget increased, but so was the county and state prosecutors' budget was increased, and so was juvenile probationary fund. It was also increased. So when I look at all of those increases, and then I also add the additional $2 million grant that Harris County received, plus the additional $3.2 million that I was advised of in the commissioner's newsletter for Precinct 1, I'm thinking that's a grand total of over $20 million.
Wow.
So we're talking about $20 million that can be tapped into for diversionary programs.
Right now.
Right now, without reaching, without applying, without delaying, that can be used right now to affect positive, measurable outcomes and change in these young men's lives?
Well, the problem with that is that you don't have enough diversity with the people who you've entrusted all this money for. Are the people who are not black, who don't look like us, who don't, participate other than election time, are they really going to use that money to create programs? If so, I'm telling you, with drug court and with all of them, I'm down there every day. Being a criminal defense lawyer is a lonely profession. The people that they have running drug court are not the people who are in touch with the people that are on drugs.
I understand. Now,
you understand what I'm saying?
But now look, this is the flip side. The flip side is I don't want the audience to believe that just because they see someone that looks like them, that person automatically has their best interest at heart.
Exactly. But you can still there are community activists and community service-oriented lawyers like me, and I've never been asked to do anything down there. And I'm down there every day, have been down there every day since 1992, okay? And I've never been asked.
You're such a resource.
The ones who are asked are the ones who I never see in 3rd Ward, 4th Ward, 5th Ward. It's the clique. And that's sad because that's who's running the money for the programs, for the STAR program. The STAR program is a good program, and I'm not knocking it, but if there are any more programs, you can't have the people in charge of the programs not being able to relate to the people who are participating in the program.
Let me make 2 points, especially for the audience if they haven't picked up on the unconstitutionality.
Okay, I love it.
To my knowledge, one of the things that they included in this injunction was banning these guys for life.
For life from their community. Let's say it again. Banning 92 guys from 2.2 mile radius, all of which are born and raised in this community. Some have inherited property from their parents that they own is in their name, banning them from their community.
For life.
For life, because they have gotten criminal trespass warnings.
Which is a Class A misdemeanor?
Right. It's been an A, B, and C. You can find all of them in criminal trespass, but it's definitely a misdemeanor, but to ban you from your community.
So these are not the murderers. They
could be, but that's not the criteria for our legislator. They could be, someone could have a murder conviction and also have these trespass. Because look at what the legislator tried to do. They created it for trespassing because it's to keep you off of a person's property.
Oh, yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The purpose, obviously, of the gang injunction by our legislatures is if I own HEB and I've told the 3 of us to stay out 5 times and they keep getting arrested for criminal trespass and doing 6 months, I can ban them. I can enjoin them from coming on my property. And anytime they walk onto it, they got to go.
Now
You see
that's
what I'm
how
saying?
it should be.
Because that's the way it's written. That's why it's the threshold is just the misdemeanor. You know, those trespass misdemeanors.
But when they join in with the whole safety zone concept, that is what brings the unconstitutionality to me.
Right.
Because I'm including property that's not owned by the complaining owner. And then I'm affecting the rights of the person that does own the property, as well as the rights of the defendant that's not even on the property that they were complained about trespassing on.
Right.
But what I found interesting is they don't ban sex offenders for life.
Right. Sex offenders are not even banned for life.
Okay, so murderers are not banned for life,
And we
unless
have
they get life in prison.
Right. But if they're walking around, the publican knows that they're a sex offender, but they are not banned from going into a certain zip code.
And
Right.
we have 3,000 sex offenders that I think over the next 18 months, they will be coming to the 77004 and the 77021, 77023 zip codes.
And it's
3,000.
77033.
Yeah.
033.
Yeah, thank you.
033.
And it's just so many wrongs that there is, because we need to help the people in the community. We need to, those who are leaders need to think of ways in which we can affect positive change. Say, hey, you get out of prison or you're doing this, hey, we got a program that we want you to participate in. You know, this is required. It can be required in many ways, probation, through parole, whatever. Let's help our community.
Let me bring a couple of academic pieces in here. Now, with the University of Eastern Kentucky, this is what they say about the best way, one of the things that they're saying about the best way to prevent gang involvement is prevention and intervention programs, not suppression and enforcement. But they go on to say this: thus, prosecution must be directed at the crime, not the social group. A war on gangs hurts the working poor who live in the neighborhood and are humiliated and harassed by it. Furthermore, it arouses people's outrage and further prejudices society against them. And this is academic research. This is from criminologists and sociologists, but Harris County ignores this.
Did you read that to them?
Yeah, I gave it to them.
Okay.
I gave them the research and the research links and everything. This is what they should be doing as a way to deter and reduce and solve gang activity, not suppression and enforcement based on research.
And one of the things I want to make clear is that we want a safe community. So the offensive part to me is that our government has gone to the NAACP and the Urban League and organizations and said, and our city council members from that district, and said, hey, we have a gang problem. We have something that's going to be a solution to the gang problem. And everybody just co-signs on it. They don't ask questions.
They don't research it.
They don't research it on their own.
Diligence.
They don't do their own due diligence. And I'm asking our community to stop doing that. Stop it. We need to say, we do have a gang problem. We have a job problem. We have a lot of problems. Let's research the issue and see if this is the best solution. Don't co-sign on what people are saying, because some of our leaders I heard saying, oh, I'm scared to go to a certain store. Like, these 92 guys are the ones you're scared of. Crime is crime. I mean, it might be 5,000 people committing crimes out in that zip code in 2.2 mile radius, so you can knock those 92 or those 192 out of that community. That doesn't mean that that store is going to be safe, because what we do know about people who don't have jobs, who are disenfranchised, once one group of criminals leave, another one comes right back into that territory. The young ones, the younger brothers, the cousins, the other ones. It could be a whole different community that comes in and pounces on them.
Right.
Because that's not the solution. That gangster area going to still be a gangster area with different gangsters. At least it's going to be the gangsters you don't know instead of the gangsters you did know.
Now, here's the deception, the wicked deception of the county, in my view, is because the nature of what they are trying to address is economics.
Right.
And the problem in '88 was economics. The problem in 2016 is economics. And they will not and they do not address this. The only elected official that we have on paper that has said this is unconstitutional is Senator Rodney Ellis. Now, Dwight Borkins gave an interview, but it was a conflicted interview, but it leaned toward the status quo. So why are all of the elected officials, and we sent the state reps and the city council members an email and asked them, we want a written position, your written position on this gang injunction. It does not matter if this is your district because you vote on the money and the issues regardless to what district you are in. So we wanted them to give us a written, I think we gave them till like the 15th. And see, now when we start taking each issue like that and asking them for that written position, then we can keep a scorecard on what they did or didn't do, and come election time, we can present to the public, this is their record. This is their scorecard. This is what they did, this is what they didn't do, and this is what we asked them to do on the community's behalf. But right now, there's no accountability to the community by elected officials. And that's how we also are trying to address and change that stagnated situation.
Well, I agree with that. And I don't want there to be any misunderstanding that we don't want a safe community. We want a safe community, but we also want a working community. We don't want a community that has been for under a gram of cocaine, and a community of felons who spent 2 to 5 years in prison, who are 25, who cannot get a job because they're felons. We don't want a community of young men sitting around who are ready to work, who are calling our offices as community leaders saying, give us a job, help us find a job, help us find a job, when all we see from our community leaders that control the purse strings is ways to keep knocking them down. How can we want a safe community, we want a working community, we want a tax-paying community, and we want to have alternatives to incarceration because it's too expensive. You know, children love their fathers even if they did 2 years in prison, okay?
Right.
Children want to be around their fathers. They're a part of those people's flesh and blood. Their mothers want to be around their children. So if, you know, it's very few heinous crimes that are committed, and we know those people are going to get life. You know, they're going to get a lot of time. But the majority of people are going in and out for little bitty things that weren't even a crime 25 years ago, weren't even a crime 30 years ago. Police didn't even deal with those kind of issues 35 years ago because they used to deal with dangerous people or who they tried to lock up. Now, the society locks up people they don't like. They don't just lock up people they're afraid of. And somehow, we the people need to address that.
Well, watch this. The Earl Carl Institute at TSU, Thurgood Marshall, did a study. It's called The State of Houston Now. In that study, they concluded that black people are not committing any more crimes than white people. Mm-hmm. The problem is at the prosecution component.
It
right.
starts with the police, actually.
Well, yeah,
because the police are the ones that bring them in, and the DAs just co-sign on whatever the police say.
Okay.
Anytime the police call in and say, "I got this," or "What can I get this person for?" the DAs accept charges. There's no discretion. So it's really how the police, and a lot of times, let me just say this: what upsets me about the police is, I love police. I have a lot of police officer friends, so I don't mean it like this, but there's generational racism in policing. A lot of police,
the culture of policing.
It's a culture. Their daddy was a police, their grandfather was a police, and you know, for a long time in Houston, they were recruiting all these policemen from New York. You know, they got 200 years of policing. And they did it, and they learned to police from a racially biased way to do it. And what police understand and what DAs understand, and is much easier to prosecute poor people that can't afford to fight back than it is rich people that can.
It is statistically proven that crime increases when there is poverty or no jobs. That's a fact. There's another study done that says that this university, I forget the name of it, it'll come to me, did a study of all of the state budgets across the United States.
Oh, wow.
Of the metropolitan cities.
Wow.
And of the
major cities.
Yeah, major. And said that what they found that they are spending more money on incarceration than they are education.
Right.
They're spending almost 3 times more money there. And it takes $40,000 a year to house somebody in prison, and it takes like $10,000 to educate them. It's some kind of imbalance like that. But this society is stuck on incarceration. Now, it's also a fact that Americans, the American form of policing is rooted in the way slaves were policed. That's a fact. 1704 is when it actually started forming from slave policing, the paddy rollers and the paddy wagons. The paddy wagons we talked about in the 60s came from the paddy wagons in 1704. Wow. For the slave catchers and the paddy rollers that were sent out to catch the runaway slaves. Wow. So this is a fact that police don't dispute. And if they do, they have to argue with a whole bunch of university research versus what they say. But if today's policing in America is rooted in slave policing, then you can kind of see how when we say the culture of policing is more of a enforcement and suppression than prevention and intervention, because they didn't want none of you people running off the plantation.
Right, exactly. Exactly. And that's why if you run from a cop now, you go to jail for it's a 3rd-degree felony, 2 to 10.
If you make it to jail.
If you make it to jail, right.
Oh, and the Jim Crow laws of yesteryear has one of the planks in it. If 3 or more black people are together, black men, it says specifically, a white man has to be in the middle of them. The gang injunction says if you see 3 or more black men today, that you can approach them, okay? So the white man in the picture today is the police. Oh yeah, that's Jim Crow.
But that's partly our fault, because as a community we have not stood up against that, and we can. So tell me again how you got these people to sign this petition. You went door to door and got the signatures.
Actually, we did. We went door to door. We had our talking points. We explained the gang injunction. If they had any questions, we broke it down into smaller, morsels, easy to understand, just plain everyday talk. And after the people understood, they signed and said no, because this could affect me. My son could be classified as a gang member.
Exactly.
I may be in a database and don't know it.
Exactly.
Yes, so we went door to door, and everybody was excited. They were excited to get the information. They were excited to be empowered, knowing that they were affixing their signature to something that could have a positive effect on their community, that they were helping preserve constitutional rights, not only for themselves, not only for the defendants, but their signature is helping preserve my rights, your rights,
Absolutely.
Charles' rights. All of our rights are at risk.
Amen.
With this suit.
Amen. Amen. I really appreciate that work. How many volunteers did you have to go door to door?
We had over 30.
That's a lot.
We had over 30 volunteers. We were out there for rain or shine. So even though the clouds were very low and it was very humid, people came out because the ACLU also provided ponchos.
Wow.
And I said on the Facebook when someone was talking about the May Day parade being canceled, and I said, well, I wonder, did it rain at all during the Montgomery boycott? I'm just wondering, did it ever rain?
Oh, I know it rained a lot. Oh, yeah.
Did it rain? Did it snow? Yes. How was the weather? Was there ever any flooding?
What was your staging site?
Sir? The staging site was St. Mary's United Methodist Church.
All right.
Very benevolent pastor and wife. They've only been there 9 months, Pastor and Mrs. Bell.
Where is that located?
That's right there on the corner of Scott and Yellowstone, across from Yellowstone Park,
I used to go,
across from Cullen High School.
I joined.
Yes, yes. So they are eager. And as we were setting up on the outside of the church, the service was still going on. The pastor, it appeared, went into a second sermon on why his members should sign the petition against this gang injunction.
And what date did you do that?
That was actually Sunday, May 1st. May 1st, 2016.
It was on a Sunday?
It was on a Sunday.
You got 30 people to volunteer
on a Sunday.
So are you planning on doing it again?
Yes, ma'am, we are. As a matter
Make sure you contact me, because I would certainly do it. I got the volunteer spirit. I visit my people in jail on Sundays, but I will come and spend a little time. This Sunday, you know, I was coming back from the cruise.
Oh, okay.
The cruise came back and docked in Miami May 1st.
Of course.
Make sure you text me or email me next time.
Yes, and if anyone ever wants any information, we post updates.
What's the name of your site?
Facebook, The People Hold the Purse.
Oh, that's okay.
Or Facebook, Loretta Brock.
Okay, we got it, because we're getting 3 minutes. This time goes by fast. So we got to kind of try to start closing it down. So tell me, Loretta, and I'll end it with you, Charles. Just tell me, Loretta, some things you want the community to know about empowering them to have their voice heard with this gang injunction that's reset for June 2016.
If you know anyone that is a defendant, if you are in touch with any of the attorneys involved, be they prosecutorial or on the defense, advise them that we the people are not accepting constitutional compromise to address criminal activity. We will not sacrifice our civil liberties for anything. It's not for sale, not for programs, not for coins. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is that all? I might yield my time to you. Go ahead on. Go some more.
That was good. I loved it. Okay, Charles, get your 1 minute so I can have my last 1 minute.
Okay. This is something that I came up with. In the way that the county is approaching this problem to address it, it's wrong. It's incomplete, and it does not focus on the core elements that produce the behavior. That's number one. And the reason I wrote, it said, they are trying to apply a synthetic solution to an organic problem, okay? So it won't mix. Right. Because the problem that's dealing with behavior cannot be contained with a synthetic hard and fast rule without any flex points. And there's no flex points in the county's approach in the way that they are doing it. So I would caution the county is to, you cannot use the suppression method in 2016 and be effective and then say you want to be a partner in the community. Right.
Well, let me just say this. I appreciate, Charles, you coming to give your time to talk to the community, to educate the community about what's going on in our criminal justice system. And Loretta, thank you so much. We see each other at a lot of community volunteer projects, and thank you for sacrificing your time.
Thank you for having me.
To talk about your problem and your volunteerism in the community. I want to employ or beg of you or ask of you to volunteer more for your community. When you're asking your leaders to do something for you for free or to do something for you, be willing to barter your time, volunteer your time, educate yourself about the criminal justice system. Don't let these 6 lawyers fight this battle alone. It's not their problem. They're just trying to help their clients and their constituents. I am volunteering and have volunteered many hours to try to help the community, but we need the community to be involved. And so let's make sure our leaders are accountable. They do what the people want. Maybe they really think this is what we want, but let's tell them what we want. And let's see if we can affect some positive change for 77033, 77021, and 77004. Many of us live, I know I live in 77004. I own a business in 77004. I want it to be positive. We have rails coming through. We have the Super Bowl coming. We have all kind of great things happening. Let's make it a positive influence. Let's work with police. But let's keep our police accountable when we call to respond in 5 or 10 minutes and not 3 hours. But yet, when you think a gang injunction is about to go into force, you wrapped around $2.2 acres with guns waiting for somebody to cross some imaginary line. Let's not let our police officers treat us like that. Make them be accountable all the time so that we can partner with the police to solve the crimes in our community, but let people live and let live. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Why can't the police say, if Junior is giving us a problem, why can't community leaders go to community leaders and say, Charles X. White, Loretta, Robert Muhammad, Chris Latson, we need y'all to talk to these people because they out of control. Try less intrusive approaches to things. Include us community leaders. Don't just come to us when you want to vote. Come to us when you think you have a problem in the community so we can meet about it and try to give you some solutions. Help us, help ourselves, help our legislators, and help our government officials. Thank you for watching Truth and Justice and our rant tonight. Thank you.